The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Hey, now, hello again, everybody. Welcome to High School Game Day, countdown to kickoff here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside Alan Hilliard from Alan Hilliard Sports as we approach Week 12 of the high school football season. It's district championship weekend. All games except one will be on a Friday night from 8-man through Class 6. There will be a Class 6 game at, I believe, at Rittenhour on Saturday. But, Alan, you would know more about that game because you're doing that, Rittenhour, Pattonville.
Yep, it's actually at Pattonville at 1 p.m. on Saturday. It's, like you said, I believe it's the only game on Saturday after a week of games kind of everywhere.
They are.
Weeks ago.
Yeah. As you look, well, and we'll start off in 8-man football here on the 8-man football schedule. In 8-man football on Friday, all these games will be on Friday night. Will be Liberal at Lockwood. Lockwood is 10-0 here, and they've already beaten Liberal by, I think it was 72-20. But the winner of that, which I'm assuming will be Lockwood, will get a very good either Archie or Appleton City team. Archie with just one loss on the season at 9-1, but it was a 2-point loss to Lockwood. So that may be in that first quarterfinal round. That may be your state championship in 8-man football. And to be honest, I don't know a lot about 8-man football because it's kind of brand new to Southwest Missouri. It's always been played up in the northwest part of the state, but Lockwood obviously having a tremendous year.
Exactly. There are a lot of the Class 1 schools the last couple of years have transitioned to it due to numbers and other factors, and I think it's really kept football alive at a lot of schools.
It has indeed, and elsewhere, King City will be at Worth County. North Shelby will be at Knox County, who is also 10-0 on the season. Concordia will be at Northwest Hughesville. Wellington Napoleon will be at Hardin Central, who's 10-0. St. Joe Christian will be at Bishop LeBlond, and West Nottoway will be at a 10-0 Rockport. So a lot of teams coming in to these district championships undefeated here in 8-man football.
Yeah, 8-man football, I think part of it is the distance. Some of the schools don't play, but also a lot of these schools, conference up here in Northwest Missouri, couple schools down Southwest, but they're not. The distance between the schools and the conferences, I think, kind of keep them from playing a lot of each other, which makes the playoffs very entertaining when they get to this stage.
As we move into Class 1, I really feel like, that matchup at Thayer between Marionville and Thayer is going to be the district championship game, although there's a Salisbury team up north that's 10-0, and then the winner of that Marionville-Thayer game will have to likely play Tipton, who hosts Russellville on Friday night. But I think that Marionville-Thayer game will be tantamount to the Class 1 state championship.
Exactly there. That's a game that a lot of people are really wanting to watch. And Thayer's just been they're a solid team every year, so is Marionville. And I don't believe they have played this year either. I don't see them on the schedule, but a very tough schedule Thayer had, and also Marionville. Their schedule. It's another very tough matchup that this could be a shootout or this could be a low-scoring game of the last one with the ball wins.
Yeah, Thayer's only loss this year was to a very good Mountain Grove team there in the SCA, and Marionville lost a game. They had Springfield Central on their schedule, and we all know what happened there with them disbanding their program. So they went out of state and took on an Arkansas team, and that's their only loss of the season. So that's Class 1 here. As we move into Class 2, Bowling Green is at Montgomery County. St. Pius, the 10th out of Festus, is at Caruthersville. Cameron's at Mid Buchanan. This is a Mid Buchanan team. Coach Aaron Fritz they're playing really well right now. They're 10-0 on the season. They beat a Savannah. I think Savannah's in their conference. Brookfield is at Monroe City, who's 9-1. And Forsyth is at Liberty Mountain View. Liberty Mountain View is going to make some noise, I believe, at 8-2. But when they cross over, they're likely going to run into a Lamar. And then at the bottom of that bracket is Centralia traveling to Blair Oaks and Carrollton at Summit Christian Academy. Blair Oaks is, I believe, the class of this Class 2 football.
Oh, exactly. There, Blair Oaks coming off last week's win, and that Jeff City region there. I mean, just north of Blair Oaks, Capital City pulling off a big victory. We'll talk about that later, but I mean, Class 2. The Holden and Lamar. That's a game I'd be looking at this weekend. 9-2 for Holden and 7-3 for Lamar. And as you know, you can never count out Lamar. Even in their rough years, it seems they can win a state title.
And they went through that last year with the injuries. They lost their quarterback in the Mount Vernon game earlier this year. I don't know where he's at with regards to coming back, but this is a Lamar team that's played in 12 of the last 14 state championships. Yes, you heard me correctly. They have played in 12 of the last 14 state championships, and they've won 10 of them. So just an unbelievable run here. It's unprecedented. I mean, you can look at Webb City, you can look at Jeff City. I don't think anyone has those kinds of numbers that Lamar has, so you just cannot count them out. You put that Lamar Tiger on your helmet, and that may be worth as much as 2 touchdowns before the game starts.
Exactly. They're one of the top programs all time with playoff wins and state championships, if not pushing the record at least. But they're a team that every year, I mean, they've played up before and they've played in their class. They'll play tough games. They're not afraid to go out and play a tough team, and their conference is a very tough conference to prepare them.
Yeah, I can remember years ago when Scott Bailey was still at Lamar, and they had scheduled Valley Catholic to Home and Homes, and people were wondering what they were doing. And I remember having discussions on the air back when I was at ESPN. I said, I think Lamar wins this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. And people were like, there's no way. Valley Catholic's won 16 state titles. They'll roll Lamar. Sure enough, Lamar won by 3 or 4 touchdowns both years. But moving into Class 3 before we take a break here, and again, you're listening to High School Game Day on the Missouri Sports Network, presented by the Missouri State Highway Patrol, who reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. You got Potosi's traveling to Dexter. That winner will get the winner from Lift for Life Academy and Valley Catholic. There's that Valley Catholic team, 10-0. They will host Lift for Life, and that may be a very good game. I know Lift for Life plays a relatively difficult schedule, as does Valley Catholic, but that may be the game of the night. You got Boonville is at St. Michael the Archangel. Richmond is at Maryville, and Maryville's a proud program, and they've had some tremendous seasons. St. Clair is at St. Francis Borgia. Moberly is at Osage. Got to see Osage play earlier this year at Bolivar. They've kind of got into shape here since that meeting, which I believe was week 2. Then you've got this upstart Clever team that's 9-2. Coach Mac Whitehead was a Springfield area quarterback club small school coach of the year. They're playing for a district championship. The bad news is they've got Mountain Grove, who along with and then across from them is Cassville and Seneca. And I think between Mount Grove, Cassville, and Seneca, I think one of those 3 heads could win in Class 3. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I fully agree there. And Clever, they've really come out, surprised a lot of people. But, because the last couple of years they've been 0-something seasons. But they've recently just got football. So it's not, a program that's been there for a long time. It's a new program. And going to play Mountain Grove hasn't lost at home. And Mountain Grove's another team with, tough conference schedule. And normally if there's a loss for a team like that, it's a very tough game. And, well, I say that it was to Fair Grove, but Fair Grove earlier this season was also a very tough team, and that was a 1-point loss.
All right. That will kind of wrap it up there in Class 3. And again, all these games as well are on Friday night. Hey, be sure to tune into Friday Night Live here on the Missouri Sports Network. It's a live scoreboard show from across the state, just 56 games this week. So we shouldn't have as much trouble getting all 56 finals in for you. And then, to be honest, last Friday night, we had 112 games. And before we went off the air, we had every one of them on the scoreboard and reading out. I've got Kent Mueller, who's back in Kansas City, along with the good doctor who's sitting in the other room from me here in the studio and typing in the scores every Friday night. It's a lot of fun, but just a few more Fridays to do this. But be sure and tune into Friday Night Live, presented by Bambino's Italian Cafe at Lone Pine and East Battlefield, home of the Springfield Area Quarterback Club, Tip-Off Club, and Leadoff Club. And we will be back after these messages from our sponsors.
Any given Saturday. And a little work. And a little play.
Hey, little help?
And a truck that says no to nothing.
Hi, Dad. Can we give them a ride?
Yeah.
The Silverado Trail Boss and Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Leaders know there's no guide to greatness. When everyone else says something can't be done, they know it only hasn't been done yet. True leaders weather the fiercest storms and look deep within themselves to rise above and help others find their way forward. At Great Southern Bank, we're proud to partner with visionaries that help raise the tide for all of us. And when you're ready to bring your vision to life, we'll be right behind you with award-winning support.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, presented by the Bank of Billings, established 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County, with 2 locations to serve you better, one in Billings and one in Marionville. Also presented by Doak Propane for all your propane needs in Polk County and surrounding counties. See the folks at Doak. Guy to come alongside Alan Hilliard, coming to you from an undisclosed location in Missouri, but that's why we have to have the camera off. We don't want anybody to know where we are, but no, it's just circumstances. But now we're going to move into Class 4 now in our district previews here for Friday night. Got North County is at Festus. Sullivan is at Vianney. Vianney's 4-6 on the season. Nevada's at Warrensburg. Savannah is at Kearney. That should be a good game there, but I think Kearney is maybe the class of this class. I don't know. Savannah's playing awfully well. And, Coach Anthony Hayes there at Savannah, a longtime friend of mine, had him on several times this year, played at SBU, coached at SBU, coached at Bolivar as an assistant coach. Then he was the head coach at Parkview, and then down at Branson, but he's from that, or his wife is from that area, and she got a principal job up there, so he moved up there, and he's had tremendous success.
Yep, Kearney, that's a name that some people 15, 20 years ago remember as being a powerhouse, and, I mean, they're coming back. They are 10-0 this year with some very convincing wins up in that western part of Missouri there. They play a lot of the kind of suburb Kansas City schools, and they've got a pretty tough schedule.
They do indeed. St. Mary's Southside is at Lutheran North. Orchard Farm has kind of been a surprise this year. I know they're getting tremendous quarterback play. He was a Chevrolet Athlete of the Week here, maybe going back to week 2. And then Odessa is at Hannibal. Carl Junction is at West Plains after they upset Logan Rogersville here last week. But in Class 4, I'm looking, you could get an upstart, and maybe a Vianney that's played up all year in that conference with the Smet, Chaminade, CBC. Maybe they sneak in because of the competition that they played this year, but who knows? And West Plains seems like they're always there with that smash mouth football. Moving into, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, exactly. I was about to say with Vianney, most of their opponents are Class 5 and 6, which gives them really the number 1 seed because of that, but they're also playing a really tough schedule. And again, the kind of the preparation of things is that you play a tough schedule. You're going to get bit once or twice, but it's going to make you a lot better team. And then West Plains and Carl Junction, a rematch from earlier of the Ozark Mountain Conference, which was just created not too long ago.
Moving into Class 5, Central Cape Girardeau is at Farmington. Eureka is at Kirkwood. That's an interesting matchup there. Jamar Macklin, is the head coach there at Kirkwood, going back to his roots. They're 8-1 on the season, so they're a game short because every year they play in that Turkey Bowl between them and Webster Groves. That's, I think, is the oldest contest in the state of Missouri in football history. So they're just a game short.
Yep, I believe it predates Misha by probably 20 years.
Oh, I would say it's probably closer to 40.
Yeah.
Raytown is at Grain Valley. Rockhurst is at Platte County, who I think is maybe along with Cardinal Ritter, and whoever wins that Republic Carthage game. But Cardinal Ritter's at Ladue. Parkway West is at Fort Zumwalt North, and then Capital City is at Lebanon. And Lebanon's that's a team you really don't want to play right now. They've gotten healthy. They've got their running back who missed 3 weeks earlier in the season because of a appendicitis surgery. And then Coach Will Christian does a tremendous job there. And then the Republic Carthage game. That's a game that got away from Republic earlier this year, but Carthage kicked a field goal on kind of a controversial ending where Republic thought they'd intercepted the ball, and it looks like it on video, but they ruled dual possession and gave Carthage the ball inside the 10. They kicked a field goal to win it, but that's kind of maybe going to be a revenge game, but again, it's back down at Carthage.
Exactly there, and what's wild with the way the bracket plays out, if Republic wins this game and Lebanon wins, Republic is playing basically Willard, Webb City again, Carthage again, and then they're going to play Lebanon. So they're going to repeat their conference schedule almost to what it was earlier this season already.
Yeah, I was talking with Coach Cornelson last Friday night on the high school football scoreboard show, and he didn't understand that. He said, this didn't make sense. And I said, well, if everything made sense, the boys would ride side saddle instead of the girls. But who knows? Moving on here into Class 6, Northwest Cedar Hills at Jackson. Jackson's had a tremendous year. Lafayette Wildwood is at CBC. Lee Summit is at North Kansas City. Liberty North is at Liberty. Fort Zumwalt is at Troy Buchanan. Joplin is at Nixon. Elias Catholic is at Blue Springs. And I'm not sure how that is, but if Elias, I thought surely Elias would host that game, but Blue Springs is the host. According to Misha, let's see. Let me just check the matchup here really quick.
Yeah, see, I was thinking
it is. They mislisted it. It is at Elias Catholic. It says Jefferson City, Missouri.
Yeah, it's off Swift's Highway there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they've got Blue Springs listed as the home team.
I don't know, but this Elias team is a team that has been bumped up a class, and They're riding with it. They're playing strong here. Both these teams have a very similar win against Rockbridge, though. But that's their only common opponent.
Yeah. Well, I think Nixa goes ahead and rolls here. The thing you worry about Nixa is their starters for the last probably 5 or 6 weeks really haven't been challenged. So they've played 2 quarters at a time in games. I mean, so there's 2 ways of looking at that. Number one, they're going to be fresh and healthy. And number 2, they may be out of a rhythm just a little bit. But Coach Perry does a tremendous job there at Nixa. And if Blue Springs upsets Elias and Nixa wins, I believe that quarterfinal game would be at Nixa. So,
yeah. And Nixa having a conference rematch from earlier where they played Joplin, which they came out ahead in that ball game. But again, besides the Nixa doing the same thing, playing Ozark and kind of running through their COC opponents again. But the good thing is they don't have to run through them too much longer here.
Yeah. And I misspoke. If Elias wins, that game will be at Nixa. If Blue Springs wins, I believe that game will be at Blue Springs because they didn't host the previous game. So my apologies there. Even I make some mistakes on occasion. But Alan, tell us a little bit about what you've got. You don't have any games Friday night, but you may have, basketball is getting ready to start. It's right around the corner. You're through with volleyball. Friday night, you're just going to be one of us, just sitting there tracking all the scores.
Well, I've got some basketball coming up on Friday. It's the girls' jamboree at Dixon, I believe. So,
kidding already?
Just that quick. Practice started a week and a half ago.
Yeah. So, well, a week ago today.
Yeah, it's
while we're filming this, a week and a half ago, and when this airs.
Well, we got a couple days off here because the holiday break. So,
very good. Well, and as always, it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to visiting with you maybe on Friday Night Live if you can get that jamboree done and get back to your studio. We will be here flying the desk here in the studio at the undisclosed location. Actually, I won't be here. I'll be in a different place. Anyway, it'll be all right. Alan, I really appreciate it, and we look forward to catching up with you Friday night.
Absolutely. It will be fun. We're almost to the winter season. We're getting there.
Yeah, you walked outside this morning and you thought you were right in the middle of it.
Oh, don't worry. Tomorrow it's going to be back to spring again, so.
Yeah.
Not sure what weather doesn't know what's going on at the moment, but we'll just, I guess, stick with it and see what happens.
All right. You're listening to High School Game Day Countdown to Kickoff here at our district rundowns with Alan Hilliard, Guy Newcomb, right here on the Missouri Sports Network. As always, presented by Great Southern Bank, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Bambino's Italian Cafe, and the Missouri Sports Network. Everybody have a great day. Keep it right here on the Missouri Sports Network. Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad that you've tuned in. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, hey, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Also presented by Lyon and Labor's Local 663, who are building Missouri. We go now to Platte County High School, home of the Pirates, and we welcome in head football coach, Coach Bill Utes. Coach Utes, thanks so much for your time today.
I appreciate you having me.
Coach, your last loss was almost 2 years ago to the date. Coming out of that 14-0 state championship game from a year ago, what pieces did you have to replace coming into this season, and who are some of the young men that have stepped into those roles?
Well, we were blessed with having a majority of our offense back. We've replaced. We did have to replace 3 offensive linemen, and we've been able to do that with kind of a number of kids. And then the big pieces that we needed to replace was our defense. Of the 4 defensive linemen, we had to replace 2 of those and they're both juniors, Brody Hawk and Kyler Parker, and then everybody behind them basically had to be replaced. So we have 3 new linebackers and a whole new secondary that are participating. Really, the only thing we returned on defense were 2 of our linemen, Cale Bunce and Cole Johnson. So it's been a rebuild on that side of the ball for sure. And then we're blessed. We have a lot of kids that have been able to step up and fill any gaps that we have.
Well, as you go back to that jamboree there, mid to late August, any kids that maybe have surprised you at this point of the year where they've really grown up and matured, not only football wise, but physically, that you didn't see them, getting that much improvement from that point until now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I've been doing this for several years, but and one of the things that you always see or what I thought we always saw was, usually as a junior, you don't see a whole lot of improvement between your junior and senior year. And honestly, I mean, just because the kids are matured and you kind of get close to that ceiling, but we're blessed with a great group, and part of it is just the work ethic that they put into it. So we've seen some improvement kind of all the way across the board. We've got some, and obviously we had a talented group last year that were juniors, but you just see the work that they've put in. So, to pinpoint one person, I don't know that I can necessarily do that. I just think the whole group has done a nice job. Defensively, of course, as I mentioned before, there's so many question marks coming into it. I don't know that we necessarily had a projected answer. And we've been, of those 7 positions that I mentioned a little bit ago, of the linebackers and DBs, we've probably rotated 10 to 12 kids in those 7 positions. And so it's really been kind of a group effort for sure, and kind of a position effort. They've done a nice job, and a lot of times when you see that, you'll get some kids that I mean, it's kind of hard to accept being a starter one week and then the next week, kind of switch it up and do, so on and so forth. But it's been a blessing to be able to kind of have some kids that have different talents, and we can kind of match them up by personnel of the other team, as opposed to just one kid winning the job over the second one. We really don't have 1s and 2s. We kind of have 1s and other ones. And so that's been a blessing in that sense, just being able to rotate everybody around.
Coach, at this point of the season, what do you feel like you're doing really well right now as you head into week 12?
No, that's another great question. I think that what we're seeing a nice job of is, and I'll preface that with last year's experience, I believe, was huge for this group. We've been blessed to be able to get to the district title game several years, but then to kind of make that next jump to what we did last year was kind of new. But the kids that are back know how to prepare. So I think overall, just our preparation of practice, the mental side of it, I think our kids are adapting very well to it. It's been the last couple of weeks have been a really nice transition from the regular season to the playoffs, of just how we practice, how we compete. The kids know what they need to do. They kind of, they know what to take care of their body. They know what to expect. So I think I'm going to answer that with just the overall preparation of what we've done program wise, to where, to where each unit is doing a nice job.
Scoring, 55 points a game and giving up less than 10, you got to be proud of that defense. What kind of, what can folks expect to see defensively? And there's huddle, and you're not giving away any secrets, but what is that secret, maybe ingredient there on that defensive side that has allowed you to be so successful, even with a 42-0 shutout a week ago over St. Pius X?
Yeah, and believe me, we do not take our defense for granted by any means. I think right now what we're seeing from a whole team standpoint is our defense is able to really fly around. And our defensive coordinator, Coach Mitchell's been here a long time, and he does a tremendous job of getting the kids ready to play. They play when you watch us play. They play with so much effort, and they fly around to the ball. We do a lot of movement. We do a lot of things that try to create havoc and chaos, for the opposing offense. And you're able to do that and be able to take a few risks sometimes when your offense is able to, generally able to score some points. So it's just a nice mix right now of complementing each other. And I think if you look over the last 2.5 years, I think I feel like we've done a nice job of that as coaches to just to take advantage of the talent that we have, wherever that is, and we've been able to complement that with each other to where it's been able to, you're able to put a nice game together.
Again, we're visiting with Platte County head football coach Bill Utes, and Coach, coming out of that St. Pius game, are you guys relatively healthy going into Rockhurst?
We are pretty healthy. Yeah, we've been blessed. As the years throughout the year, we've been able to play a lot of half games, honestly, and I mean just because we've able to put up so many points. So we've been able to get some kids pretty much rested all year, and then coming out of that game, I can easily say that was the most. They're still operating, full speed. So anytime you can do that at this level, that's a blessing.
Now you've got you get to host Rockhurst. What do you know about Rockhurst, and what are you going to have to do there to win?
Well, I know they're a storied program in Kansas City. I've seen Rockhurst for a long time. Of how great they are and how well they're coached, and their whole program is very good. I mean, from top down. I mean, you can, the community with it, the school, everything. It's a very it's a very great school. I've been blessed to know a lot of people who've come from there and have friends there for sure. They are a team that is going to do things right. They are going to be sound. They are going to play extremely hard and extremely physical. And they don't beat themselves, right? So I mean, it's like the mistakes that you can kind of hope for sometimes just aren't there, and and then they're good enough to have the ability to control a game the way they want to play. Obviously, we score a ton of points, and we're moving and flying around a little bit, and I would say that they're more of a conservative mindset in a sense of definitely wanting to control the clock and just play great defense, and then again complementary offense along with their with their play action. Definitely starts with their run and their offensive line, and then they're skilled. They're skilled in the receiver position, tight end position. Quarterbacks very, very good. They're able to get some play action off of it. So from our standpoint, is we have to be extremely disciplined and be able to make sure that we're lined up correctly, and then once we do that, to be able to execute the plays on defense, and then offensively. Again, their defensive line and linebackers are extremely solid, and then their secondary's talented and athletic. So athletic enough to match some of our athleticism, and then so we're going to have to be really smart on what we do too. It's going to be a physical matchup, but the mental side of it, from a coaching standpoint, to just which kids execute is better is really going to be the key to what we do.
Coach, for folks listening to the we do a live Friday night high school. We just call it Friday Night Live. We go through the scores and interview the coaches, and when people tune in and they hear that that Platte County defeats Rockhurst, what are one or maybe two stats that that next day you're going to point at and say this is why we won? whether it be turnovers, time of possession, or what? What are
Sure.
one or two stats that are going to determine the outcome?
Well, I think turnovers is always a big one, for sure. I think the other one that's going to be a big tell is probably what happens on third downs, and just being able to get turnovers on downs as opposed to getting the turnovers, of actual, interceptions or fumbles or whatnot. Because I think that tells a tremendous amount on how the game was played. And like I said, Rockers is a team that is going to try to control that clock. And if they can convert third downs, then that's a huge advantage for them. So we know we've got to get off the field defensively and get the ball back to our offense. And if Rockers can get us off the field, that's going to be a big win for them. So I think third downs is probably going to be a very telling stat. That maybe gets overlooked sometimes. Obviously, you look at the turnovers and time of possession and all that normal stuff, but I think that's going to be one of those hidden ones that people may not notice right out of the gate.
Outstanding. And again, we've been visiting with Platte County head football coach Bill Utes here on High School Game Day on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And Coach, we have a rule here on the show to officially become a friend of the show. You have to make 3 appearances. So
okay,
go out and get a win in the next 2 games or 3 games, win it all, and we'll get you on a couple more times, maybe on Friday Night Live. But I certainly appreciate getting to visit with you. It's always enjoying for me to be able to reach out. This is the 396th high school that I've had contact with here in my 5 years. And we've done 5,000 interviews. So it's always great to meet new people. And I appreciate your time today and good luck. And we hope to visit with you soon.
Well, I can't thank you enough for, one, getting me on, and then and two, just the support that high school sports gets and high school football gets, for sure. I think our state's a tremendous state, and I think we have a tremendous amount of talent. In the state of upper level football, sometimes it's really nice to be able to see the purity of the game, and I think I feel like we still do that here in the state of Missouri.
Outstanding. Coach, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Good luck tomorrow, and God bless.
Thank you.
All right. You're listening to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network. Back after this.
Any given Saturday. And a little work. And a little play. Hey, little help? And a truck that says no to nothing.
Hi, Dad. Can I get them a ride?
Yeah. The Silverado Trail Boss and Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Leaders know there's no guide to greatness. When everyone else says something can't be done, they know it only hasn't been done yet. True leaders weather the fiercest storms and look deep within themselves to rise above and help others find their way forward. At Great Southern Bank, we're proud to partner with visionaries that help raise the tide for all of us. And when you're ready to bring your vision to life, we'll be right behind you with award-winning support.
What rhymes with great?
Participate.
Where does greatness start? Here, in the classroom. On the stage.
In the pool.
On the field.
Where will your greatness take you?
To better grades.
To more friends.
Yeah! Be great.
Participate!
The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
And welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network here. It's Missouri Milestones, the podcast, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Here it is Thursday. It's about 9:05 here. We're going to continue our podcast here on this Thursday. We bring in with 4,947 career rushing yards here in episode 26. The 1994 graduate of Seneca High School, part of Running Back U there for a long time. Mac Whitehead. Coach Whitehead, thanks for your time today.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
And you know it, and I think I told you this last time you were on, that in order to be a friend of the show, you have to make 3 appearances. And so you've done that, so officially a friend of the show.
Perfect.
And plus, we've had lunch together probably 5 times this year already on Mondays. So
That's
certainly
right.
appreciate that. And well, Coach, we're talking about going back a little ways. Now I'm older than you. I graduated 6 years prior to you, but got to see you play on a couple of occasions in high school. Take us back to those memories you have of high school. Maybe that first time you got that varsity start, maybe as a freshman or sophomore, and what it was like and some of the guys that you played with.
I got my first varsity start in 1991. I was able to start at free safety my sophomore year, and that was a great year for us. We wound up finishing the season getting beaten in the semifinals by St. Louis John Burroughs. And that's one of the games that I remember adamantly. We had a chance to win the game, and we had them down and 2 or 3 minutes left to go in the game, and fourth down play, and our outside linebacker tips a pass, and normally that's a good thing, but they had a wide receiver slide right underneath it, and he picked up the first down, and then they went in to score, and I think we lost 14-13 or 15-13, something like that. So even then, one thing I remember is as a sophomore, I didn't really realize that the next game, if we would have won that game, we would have been playing in the state championship. I was just a dumb 14, 15-year-old kid out there having fun with those guys. So, and that group of seniors with Jim Hoover and Cheyenne Cummings and, Jason Hembry and all those guys, Charlie Hoff, that was probably one of the highlights of my high school career, that sophomore year, getting to play in all those, postseason games with those guys. So, that kind of set the tone for my group as sophomores, wanting to play, extra football, so to speak. So, that was a lot of fun.
As you look back on that, even going back earlier than that with the likes of Shannon Crouch, we've already had on here as part of the Missouri Milestones. Growing up, being able to watch him, that had to be exciting, a state title, and I think a runner-up there as well. But what was it like growing up in Seneca?
Football, that was, a little kid, that's all you wanted to do. I've got 2 older brothers, and my oldest brother graduated in 83, and then my middle brother graduated in 85. And, watching them play, I didn't probably see a football game until I was in junior high, because I was behind the bleachers with a bunch of cups rolled into a ball, playing our own game. And so, but that's all you ever wanted to do in Seneca, and that's, part of growing up in a town like that, where you're so tradition rich that little kids, that's all you want to do is play on Friday night. And so, when I was growing up, like I told you before, Shannon was it, man. I mean, I wanted to be Shannon Crouch, and, I couldn't wear 12. Coach Hodge didn't let me wear 12 because he retired it. But so I had to pick another number. But other than that, that's all you ever wanted to do as a little kid, was to be a Seneca Indian on Friday night.
Talk a little bit about those rivalries you had with other teams. Obviously, when I asked Shannon the same question, he said everybody in the Big 8. I mean, we hated everybody in the Big 8. And but what stands out to you, whether it be, I know Mount Vernon was pretty good at that time, and had been for a long time. But who were some of those rivalries you remember, and maybe even some of the individuals?
I think, our biggest rival, and you mentioned it, we knew, when we played a Big 8 school, we were going to get their best game, and that was, I think that kind of raised the level of play for us. Is, we knew that going in each week that we were going to have to play our best game. And, rivalries, I remember battling against Aurora and Mount Vernon, when I was in high school. My sophomore year, they had Heath Benson, the running back, and that was a great game my sophomore year, and then my junior year they come down, and Dustin Baldwin's the quarterback, and Brandon Schmidley, and those guys, and they beat us 17-14 at our place my junior year. Kind of knocked us out of the playoffs because back then only one team was going to go on. It wasn't like you set this tournament up and you get a chance to play week 10. That's what I tell the kids. I was like, that's probably one of the biggest playoff differences back when we were in high school was, you had a 4-team district and the last 3 games was it. And you either made the playoffs or you didn't. And I can remember my junior year going ahead and playing week 10. We went to Carl Junction week 10 and we knew we weren't going to be in the playoffs, and that's kind of set the tone going into our senior year, that, hey, we've got to buckle down. We got to take care of our business because, no one wants to stay home week 10. We finished 7-3 my junior year, and that was kind of a disappointment because we didn't get to play a week 11. But, Aurora, all the Jernigan, we played against Jernigan and those guys at Aurora, that was a Fraunenbarger. And, I can remember our senior year, we get rained out on a Friday night. There was a big rainstorm and, that pushed our game to Saturday afternoon. And, that was an experience being able to play on Saturday afternoon in Aurora after, being rained out on a Friday night. And, that was a great game too. It's the only high school football game that I did not score my junior and senior year. I didn't score a touchdown that Saturday. And so that, that was one of the things I remember about that Saturday game was they were able to keep me out of the end zone. But, our fullback Austin Lear and Don Cox, they both of them scored a couple of touchdowns. So, but, those were some rivalry games. If you ask me who my number one rival is Mount Vernon. And so that right there, I tell people I'll go to a lot of schools and I'll coach at a lot of schools, but I won't wear green. So
I had the exact conversation with Scott Bailey, and he graduated at Lamar, and I went down to a football game down to Webb City, and he was assistant coach, and for some reason I had a green sweatshirt on. I was just walking on the sidelines. He goes, "Newcomb, get the heck out of here. You got green on. You can't even be over here." But
that's right.
It was still a lot of fun growing up in that era. Well, who are some of the people, maybe coaches, parents, family that really kind of influenced you and what you did?
Well, I think you can't play football in that era without mentioning Coach Hodge. He's probably one of the main reasons I got into coaching myself was, his impact on us growing up. You can't say enough good things about him. He and I try to coach very similar to him as far as, hey, we're going to do things the right way. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to be, good sports on the field. We're going to play hard. And, we're going to be remembered as hard-hitting football team, but we're going to do it from whistle to whistle. Mike Hust, our offensive line coach, he was also our head baseball coach. He's another guy that, I really look up to as far as, doing things the right way and just how he coached. And, I look up to my 2 older brothers. Like I said, I grew up watching, my 2 older brothers play and, of course, Shannon Crouch and Scott Cooper and, that group of seniors, Neil Hust. And, that's who kind of influenced me as far as, hey, I want to be great. And I want to be, I want to kind of leave an impression on Seneca football. So.
If you could go back, to any point in your high school career and play one game over again, maybe it's a game that got away from you. We may have already talked about this off the air, this game, but what game, if you could go back and play one game over, would you play?
Oh man, I think the last one, if I could go back to 1993 and on that Monday night and go back to Bolivar and have a redo, that's the one. We kind of that year, our defense, we had 8 shutouts that year out of our first 10 games. And I think people don't realize just how stingy our defense was. I think if one of the things that didn't happen for us is we really didn't get tested until that Bolivar game. And you talk about kids all the time. How do you respond when you're down, or how do you respond when things aren't going your way? We really didn't have an answer in the second half. Things weren't going our way. And, if we could go back and play that game again, that's the one. I'd like another shot at tackling Lance a couple of times.
It was I was on the sideline in that game for Bolivar, and I remember I think you got a punt return and maybe just about broke it for a touchdown that would have put you guys up maybe 3 touchdowns in the first half or something like that. Do you remember that play?
I do, and and it was kind of got caught right there at the end, and that's one of those. I think if we get loose there and we score that and go up 21, then I think that definitely shifts the momentum. But it didn't happen, and I think we went 3 and out, punted, and then like I said, they scored and got the 2-point after that off that the scramble off of the bad snap, and I think going in 14-8, they got the ball coming out at the second half, and they score again, and now it's now they take the lead 14-15, and now we're in a place where we've kind of never been before, playing from behind. And back then we weren't a pass. We threw the ball every 4 or 5 times, maybe a game. And Coach Hodge said, if you wanted to watch us pass, come to the pregame, because we throw it all over the place during pregame. But we ran toss sweep probably 30 times a game. So Coach Potts, I got to know Coach Potts after meeting him at some of the all area meetings, and my brother wound up doing his student teaching and Bolivar, and so I kind of made that connection with Coach Potts, and he's a great guy, so I have tremendous respect for Coach Potts.
Very good. Well, Kent Miller from Playing on Sports is alongside, and I'm sure he's got some questions here.
Well, you played in the early to mid 90s. You're coaching now in the mid 2020s. A few things have changed. In your observation, describe some of the changes in the game itself, the specialization of players, nutrition, conditioning, those types of things. What do you see different?
Well, the game has changed so much since the early 90s. I tease kids all the time, our conditioning in Seneca in 1992, 93 was A&K custom baling. That was Alan and Kay Lohr had a baling. They made square bells, little square bells. And I bet they hired, probably 8 or 9 high school football players. And that's what we did all summer on the Big Prairie on 43 Highway between Joplin and Seneca. We're hauling anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 bells, every 2 or 3 days. So that was our summer conditioning, was out there in the hay fields. And now, the weight room is such a important part of high school athletics, not only in school, but, off season work and summer. And when I say off season, I'm talking about as soon as, your season's done in November, December, you turn right around, and those kids that aren't playing basketball or not wrestling, they're right back coming to off-season workouts and trying to get better. And that just wasn't the case in the early 90s. Most of us were 3-sport athletes, and right now it's hard to find a 3-sport athlete anymore that is committed to a fall sport, winter sport, and a spring sport. So that's something that's changed quite a bit as well. Nutrition, with today, kids can, a lot of them have their own nutritionists. Like they'll follow or have someone that is checking up on them and making sure that, they're getting the right stuff in their body. And, that's part of the physicality of the game. Is you look at kids today, and they're bigger, faster, stronger than what they were in the early 90s. And that's led to some of the changes as far as how you can hit kids anymore. Back in 93, 94, I was on the punt return team, and I was just looking for someone that wasn't paying attention to me, because that was green light, go. And now, you got to get your head in front and you got to use your hands to lead. So, there's been a lot of changes in the game, but I think it's for the better.
Well, you brought back a lot of memories of those square bales, both packing them on the rack and also packing them in the barn. That was a good workout.
That was 7 cents a bale, and I used to tell kids all the time, that was good money for us back then, 7 cents a bale.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I didn't get a per bale, but it was probably like $1.40 an hour. So something like that. As far as going into the future, do you see changes coming down in the next 5 years? What more of the same trends, or what do you see?
I see football, as it is. It's probably, there's only so many things that you can do offensively. There's not a lot of reinventing the wheel now. It kind of goes in cycles. So, like when we were growing up, it was run heavy. And then, in the early 2000s, all of a sudden you start seeing a lot more spread. Well, you take our team, for example, we're a spread inside zone team, but our last 3 opponents have been flex bone. And so, you see that transition back to, triple option. There's a lot of these guys that are going down to Arkansas and going to the camps down there and learning how to run the flex bone really well. And, and that's what Mountain Grove does. And that's what we'll see Friday night and like I said, St. James last week was the same thing. So, you see that, run, triple option, spread, and now it's, everyone's cycling back to run triple option. So,
which is interesting to me because I go back 20 years before you, and it was triple option. That we were one of the few at the time to do that. But I spent my entire high school career with the triple option, which was a lot of fun to run.
Yeah, and that's when I spent 3 seasons at Southwest Baptist. I spent 3 semesters at SBU, and we were Maryland I. We were that old 3-back I and coming downhill at you. And then my that winter I transferred to Missouri Southern and they went to split back veer. And so my last 2 years of college, playing under Coach Lance and Coach Gregory, we were 2-back, midline, inside veer, outside veer. So it was kind of different for us, but it was a lot of fun.
So what you're saying is going into the future, we will see a cycling of what we've seen before, but only by kids who are bigger, stronger, faster, better conditioned, better nutrition.
Absolutely. It's I look at our kids today, you take our senior wide receiver, Lucas Peebles, he's a 5'10", 5'11", 185-pound kid. And when he's wearing pads, he looks like some of the kids I played against, in college, who are, upper level, like from Northwest Missouri State. They always seem to have great looking kids, and Lucas is that type. And that's because of how serious he takes himself in the weight room, his nutrition, and that's the way all the athletes are right now. You look out there and all the kids at this time of the year, when you get to this level, they're kids that have dedicated themselves to the weight room and taking care of themselves. And it's night and day between when I played. I wouldn't want to play against these kids. That's for sure.
Coach, you mentioned Mountain Grove, and obviously this is airing on a Thursday. So tomorrow night you've got Mountain Grove. What do you know about Mountain Grove, and what are you going to have to do to come out on top?
Well, they're, like I said earlier, they're a flex bone team. Coach Swafford, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for him and what he's able to do, what he did at Ava and what he's able to do at Mountain Grove. And, they've got a great athletic quarterback and a fullback that, gets downhill quick. And, they're running midline and inside veer out of the flex bone, and they keep you guessing. And, that's something we've had to really focus on this week in practice, is being disciplined on with our defenses. Hey, who's got dive, who's got quarterback, who's got pitch? And you got to do it every play. we take the football out of it and during practice, so it doesn't really matter who has the ball. We just need to make sure that everybody is taken care of and accounted for. Defensively, that's where I feel like we can use some of our athletic kids on the edge because they're going to man us up across. And, we've got two wide receivers who I believe are all state caliber wide receivers with our sophomore, number 4, Trenton Allen, and then I mentioned him earlier, number 5, Lucas Peebles. And so, what we're going to try to do is find those one-on-one matchups where we can and create advantages for our athletic kids. So, it should be a lot of fun. I hope it's a high-scoring game, and I hope we score more points than they do for sure.
Now that's at Mountain Grove, right?
Yes, it's at Mountain Grove, and that's a great facility. That's what I tell our kids. This is something that you want to remember this time. And I reference, the games that the big games that I played in. Earlier we were talking about Mount Vernon, and I can remember that Week 9 game. They were 9-0, and we were 9-0, and they were ranked number 2 in the state, and we were ranked number 3 in the state. And we pull into Mountaineer Stadium and at 5:00, and there's 3 TV camera trucks there, and about 4 inches of snow on the ground, and there was already probably 300 or 400 people in the stands, and I mean it was an amazing atmosphere, and that's what they're going to have this week. And we talk about especially with my seniors, they're coming off 0-20 and then 5-5 last year. This is all brand new territory for them, and and I want them to remember and appreciate this time.
2 of the toughest places to play in Southwest Missouri are Seneca and Mountain Grove.
Yeah, it was a long time there. I can't remember how many years. You put me on the spot, but Seneca didn't lose a home game in the 80s and 90s very often. In fact, we always, we knew that we weren't going to get out hit wearing red, and so that was kind of our motto. When we played at home, we don't get out hit. And, the pit is what we call it. It's a special place to play for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, again, congratulations on being part of the Missouri Milestones, the podcast, and being on the list. And there are no dues. There's no secret handshakes or secret knocks on the door. You're on the list by virtue of what you've already done. And
I appreciate that.
We greatly appreciate your time here, and I hope to catch up with you again. Go out Friday night. Best of luck to you. Just hope everybody stays safe traveling and things like that. But go out and get the best effort, and we'll see what happens Friday night.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I appreciate you guys doing this and having us. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Bet. And always a joy. Got to catch up with Shannon Crouch here a couple of weeks ago, and he's the new chief of police in Lamar, Missouri. And I thought, man, a guy from Seneca going to Lamar to be the chief of police. But I asked him, I said, do you know who the first chief of police was at Lamar? And he said, yep, I got a picture of him right here in my office. It was Wyatt Earp.
Really?
Yeah, first chief of police in Lamar, Missouri. But, Coach, hey, best of luck. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you very much.
You bet. Watching the Missouri Milestones here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol remind us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb, scoreboard guy, alongside, and we go to Blue Springs High School, and we bring in Wildcats head football coach Jed Paulson. Coach Paulson, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on.
8-3 on the season, Coach. You've won 3 in a row. What do you feel like right now as a team you're doing really well?
Well, I think we kind of found our identity finally in the trenches. We've always had a great defensive line playing really good football. Our offensive line is really starting to come along. They're playing good football in the trenches. We found our running game. Corey Mayfield in the backfield has done a great job. And obviously when you pair that with Wyatt Erickson and what he can do, spreading the ball out to our playmakers, we've really found a stride offensively, and defense has just been playing steady all year.
As you go back to that jamboree back there in late August, are there kids maybe that surprised you at this point of the season that, hey man, this kid's a lot better than we thought he was going to be, maybe grown up a little bit during the season?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's always growth during the season, and that's something we preach. I mean, like I said, our offensive line, Franco Weatherspoon at left guard, who kind of filled in for Isaiah Poli when he got injured, has really come into his own and has done a great job. Julian Minter, who's been our right tackle all year, has really grown up. He's playing really good football right now. And there's a number of guys on the defense as well who's really just stepped up and done a great job. Our special teams has done a fantastic job as well. They're executing at a high level. We got some playmakers out there. Zay Height, has done a fantastic job. Brock Bankers, our punt returner, has done a great job. And obviously Devin Staley is our everything. Travis Hunter, I mean, he plays every snap on offense, every snap on defense, and a lot of snaps on special teams. So he's getting a ton of reps, and he's done a great job, been dynamic for us. And we just you got to play your best football at the end of the year, and that's what we're doing right now. And I'm just really proud of our coaching staff and proud of our players for being able to stick with it and keep grinding.
Coach, talk a little bit about just breakdown per class. Are you playing some underclassmen? Are you playing juniors and seniors primarily, or any other classmen get some time on the field?
Yeah, we are junior and senior heavy right now. We got a sophomore too that's mixed in there, but we're junior and senior heavy. I mean, we're gonna miss obviously next year our defensive line, who's all seniors. Those guys will be very, very hard to replace. Who's committed to Northern Illinois, and Phillip Fields, who's he's got a bunch of D1, 1AA offers. We're going to miss those guys, so they'll be hard to replace. But our guys are just, like I said, playing the best football that they played all year.
And Coach, a brutal district. You get Rockbridge in the first round, a team with a lot of tradition. Then you've got a Blue Springs South team this last week. Take us through those two games, and then basically a 6-touchdown turnaround last week against Blue Springs South. To talk about those two games.
Yeah, Rockbridge has a great roster. I mean, those guys are big. They're physical. They look outstanding. When they come off the bus, and they got after us in the first half of that football game. We didn't score a point. They were up 7-0. We had a conversation in the locker room about how good we think we are, and we need to get out there and execute on both sides of the football. And the second half, we just kind of took over. You could see our seniors really start to lead and really get that momentum going. And then against Blue Springs South, I just think we took over in the trenches. I mean, we won on the defensive line, we won on the offensive line, and our guys are starting to believe and the process and continue to get better and better every week. The result is a huge turnaround.
Again, we're visiting with Blue Springs head football coach Jed Paulson here on High School Game Day. And then last week you get a Blue Springs South. Take us through that game, and obviously a rivalry game, so emotions were high. How did you overcome the Blue Springs South team?
Well, we didn't think of it as, hey, we're playing a crosstown rival. At this point of the season, you want to win a championship, you got to beat everybody. So it doesn't matter. You're always going to be playing good football teams. Obviously, Blue Springs South is a good football team, but we feel like we came out and punched them in the mouth, gave them a little adversity. It was something they haven't had to overcome this year because they've just been, rolling everybody. And we were able to, execute offensively against them. We've got a run game going, like I said, and really kind of put them at a disadvantage and made them play from behind. And our defense did a great job. Secondary locked them down. We won in the trenches on both sides of the ball, like I said, and I think we won on special teams as well. I think in all three phases, we played our best football game. And, that's what's going to take to win a championship. And that's what we talk about with our kids, playing 4 quarters of smart, tough, fast, physical football. And, if we can do that, I think we can beat anybody.
And outside of, being, playing in week 12 here, of just the bumps and bruises of high school football or just football in general, are you going into this game with Helias Catholic relatively healthy?
Yeah, we're very healthy. We even got Isaiah Coley, who was our starting left guard. He's back. Came back from an injury, so he's back and can play and is ready to play. Alonzo Franklin, who was just a stud playmaker outside linebacker for us, he is still out. That's the one guy that we're going to miss. But like I said, our defensive staff and our players have done a great job of overcoming that adversity. And, it's just plug and play at this time.
Now you've got an undefeated Elias Catholic at their place, I believe. What do you know about Elias, and what are you going to have to do to win?
Well, Elias is an outstanding football team, outstanding program. They got a lot of tradition. They've played in the state championship last year. I think they won one not too far ago. They're great. They're well coached. Coach Hennings is out there. Coach Pitts is out there. They do a great job of getting their team ready to go. They got athletes on the field. They play hard. They play fast. So for us, it's definitely going to be a challenge to get out there and, again, play 4 quarters of Wildcat football and be physical, hold on to the football. And, we got to score some points. And, it's going to be a big challenge for us. So we're preparing for that.
Coach, when the folks that are listening or watching wake up Saturday morning and they see that Blue Springs defeated Elias Catholic, are you going to be able to, what 1 or 2 stats will you point to and say this is why we won, whether it's penalties or turnovers?
Yeah.
Or what?
You're right. Penalties are a big deal. I mean, we can't beat ourselves. I think controlling the line of scrimmage is always in the playoffs something big. So if we can control that rushing stat, you normally control the time of possession, which is big for everybody to win. And then the turnover takeaway margin. If we can hold on to football and get them to cough it up once or twice, I think those are the big determining factors in any football game. It doesn't matter when it is.
Well, outstanding. Well, Coach, I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time here at a busy point of the season. And again, we've been visiting with Jed Paulson, who's the Blue Springs Wildcats head football coach. Coach Paulson, we have a rule here at the Missouri Sports Network that in order to become a friend of the show, you have to make 3 appearances. So go out and win the next 2 games, and then we'll get you on. You'll become a friend of the show.
Sounds good, guy. Appreciate you, and thanks for having me on, and go Wildcats.
You bet, Coach. Thank you so much. Hey, you're listening to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, presented by Lyona Labor's Local 663. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. And we'll be back after these messages.
Things are a little tight for Terrence right now. But they won't be for long, because Central Bank makes it easier for customers like Terrence to dream bigger.
More room would be nice.
With mortgage solutions that can open the door to more space.
That's what I'm talking about.
For his growing family.
Growing family?
Honey, guess what?
You got this, buddy.
Unplug and unlock. Road trips on easy mode. And a really big touchscreen for the biggest jams. And qualify for up to $7,500 in tax credit with the Equinox EV. Unlock the tech and the value. With the 2025 Equinox EV, America's most affordable over 315-mile range EV. And Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Whether your day starts early or goes late into the night, brings the discovery of something new, or just the work of getting it done, it's all easier with a little help. At Great Southern Bank, we understand the importance of having a trusted, reliable support team who can offer you helpful resources and smart options to make the most of what you have and build on it, with possibilities that inspire you to keep going. Find your support team at GreatSouthernBank.com. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.